In 2017, Ninja Theory released a surprise masterpiece that would become one of the best and most unique gaming experiences of that year. Attempting to carve out a niche between the indie and AAA space, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice was developed by a small team of roughly 20 developers. The game leveraged motion capture, live action, and stereo audio performances, alongside a team of psychological experts to deliver a profoundly deep narrative exploring the challenges and experiences of living with psychosis. Now, 7 years later, Ninja Theory turns subtitle conventions on their head with Senua's Saga, Hellblade II. This sequel retains many aspects from the original title: the combat and puzzle-solving mechanics, stunning visuals that exude an epic cinematic quality in every shot, phenomenal sound design, and the iconic narrative feature where the voices in Senua's head are heard speaking in different ears when playing with stereo headphones. These games are deeply rooted in Norse mythology and follow Senua's personal journey. Hellblade II begins with Senua willingly captured by slavers in a bid to rescue her enslaved people. Shipwrecked after a storm, Senua defeats the slave master Thorgester in battle, but spares his life so he can lead her to his settlement. Along the way, she discovers a settlement raised by the Draugr, a legion of feral and cannibalistic barbarians. Amid the chaos, she rescues Fargrimr, a captive she senses is important to her journey. Together with her unlikely companions, Senua seeks the guidance of the Hidden Folk and confronts the giants unleashed into their world. Throughout their journey, this trio grows together as they face moral dilemmas and betrayals, with Senua ultimately challenging a corrupt leader and embracing her own identity and choices. Like its predecessor, Hellblade 2 primarily focuses on narrative delivery, keeping the gameplay mechanics relatively simple. The gameplay can be divided into two main categories: puzzle solving and combat. As players progress, Senua's path is occasionally blocked, requiring her to find runes by observing her environment from different perspectives. These puzzles may also require Senua to open and close paths by shifting in and out of the realm of the Hidden Folk. Combat mechanics involve light and heavy attacks, parrying, dodging, and focus. The focus mechanic becomes available once Senua acquires her mirror early in the game. As Senua lands blows and successfully parries and dodges attacks, her focus grows, indicated by the symbol on her mirror, which will glow when enough charge has been built up. She can accumulate up to 3 charges, and using a charge temporarily slows down time, allowing her to unleash a barrage of attacks on enemies, some of which, known as the Shattered Warriors, can only be defeated while Senua is in her focus state. As I've mentioned, Hellblade 2 focuses heavily on narrative, presenting everything in a beautifully rendered cinematic fashion. Character models and animations are top-notch, environments are immaculate, and enemy designs are hauntingly unsettling. Environmental interactions and combat blend seamlessly into cutscenes, and certain action sequences requiring Senua to run and vault over objects or avoid environmental hazards offer visually and thematically exciting changes to the overall gameplay experience. Despite my praise for its many cinematic qualities, Hellblade 2 can often feel like a slow and pensive indie film. In addition to the voices in Senua's head, much of the narrative is delivered through narration, as she walks through long stretches of terrain. While there is a run input, it doesn't feel significantly faster. It seems this pacing is intended to ensure the narration can be fully delivered before the player reaches the next objective. However, despite the masterfully crafted environments, with nothing else to do but hold forward on the thumbstick, I found myself getting a little restless waiting for the next objective where I could actually engage in some form of gameplay. Additionally, with the seamless transition between gameplay and cutscenes, the game does not include any overt input prompts, which I do enjoy. However, because this is an unusual practice in game development, I sometimes found myself waiting for a cutscene to play out, only to realize Senua had stopped moving and required my input to continue. While I appreciate games that don't assume you need your handheld, some of these sequences might have been better kept as cutscenes. This lack of guidance also led me to be unaware of and miss some of the collectibles in the early game. In contrast to the first game, all of the combat in Hellblade 2 is 1v1. While the transitions between fighting different enemies are incredibly well choreographed, making the battlefield feel genuinely chaotic, the 1v1 format removes a significant level of challenge. Additionally, the puzzles are a little too simple. I can only recall a single instance where I had to take a few moments to locate an accessible path. Since the main appeal of Hellblade is its story, I don't necessarily fault the game for its lack of difficulty. However, the scarcity of combat and puzzles compared to simple traversal was frustrating, as it makes it difficult to maintain the patience required by the narrative delivery. My final point of criticism centers on the game's narrative in relation to the original game. In the first game, Senua embarked on a solitary journey, battling the demons in her own mind, while grappling with the grief of her lover's death. In Hellblade II, the monstrous entities Senua confronts appear to literally exist in the world, rather than being her own personal perception of it. This is corroborated by her companions, who do not seem to suffer from similar hallucinations. Unlike the original, which used Senua's psychosis as a vehicle to tell a deeply poignant story, the sequel positions Senua as a literal seer in a light fantasy world, shifting the narrative focus. As a massive fan of the original Hellblade, I was extremely disappointed when it was revealed that Ninja Theory had been acquired by Xbox Game Studios. I would not be able to get a physical version of the sequel to place alongside the first, and had no intention of getting an Xbox Series anytime soon, as I'd been burned by Xbox one too many times. However, I managed to play Hellblade 2 on PC with a trial of Game Pass. While I am happy to have had the opportunity to play the sequel to a game I hold in very high regard, I'm saddened to report that it felt like too much of a departure from the original. This is not to say that the game was bad, but it seemed to exist as a Hellblade game simply to capitalize on the original success and name recognition. The first game was a perfect standalone story that didn't require a sequel. As a result, I think Hellblade 2 would have been much more effective as an entirely new IP, separate from Senua's Saga, pun fully intended. This game is not a major time commitment, but it's definitely the type of game you need to approach with patience. If you enjoy slow narrative-focused games, you will enjoy it. However, if you're coming to Senua's Saga purely as a fan of the original, heed my warning. This experience will not resonate as much as Senua's Sacrifice. But I'd like to hear from you. If you've played Hellblade 2, how do you feel about it? Do you agree or disagree with any of my critiques? And if you haven't gotten around to it, let me know why down in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe. And as always, I hope you'll join me in the next one. I've been Pungent Funk. Keep it funky, fellas.